Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today, our guest is going to be Jennifer Schwartz, Clark County District Court Judge, Department number 17. But before we get to Judge Schwartz, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and thanks to our sponsors. We have Semper Fi Heating and Cooling. Get in touch with them. It's getting warmer out, and your system may need checking. It's callsemperfi.com, callsemperfi.com. And we also want to give a shout out to Henderson Mayor Michelle Romero. We don't have her sign yet, but it's coming, and her website is votemichelleromero.com, votemichelleromero.com. She's running for re-election for City of Henderson to be mayor again. So, and we have others coming on board with us. We have a Board of Regents candidate coming on next month, also CD4 candidate coming on to advertise with us. So if you are a candidate, if you have a business or a nonprofit and you want to advertise on our show, get in touch with us. Also, pick up your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. He wrote this for litigants who do not have an attorney, you can't afford one. And if you're in that system, this is a self-help book. This will help you navigate that system. You can get a copy on Amazon for $14.99, and he will autograph it for you for free. No, not $5.99. Also, we have a merch store. It's VIPImerch.com, VIPImerch.com. Check that out. We have all kinds of fun stuff on there for you to see. And also our consulting business is VIPIconsulting.com, VIPIconsulting.com. If you are a judicial candidate or somebody in a nonpartisan race, we are looking to represent candidates in nonpartisan races. So get in touch with us on that. Also, our Valentine's Ball is coming up February 7th of 2026. I know that's a ways away, but we're going to have early bird tickets on sale this summer. So look out for that. And also, I just have to do this rant, and this may take a few minutes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, folks.
This is specifically to the Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission. Every single one of you that sits on that commission, I want you to hear this. Because what I witnessed and what I heard this week was the most hypocritical thing I have ever seen in my life. Steve sent a complaint to you guys about Chief Justice Douglas Herndon. And this was about a case involving Fred Stees long time ago. And it came out that in the DA's file was evidence that was hidden that would have exonerated Fred Stees. But instead, Fred Stees went to prison for 21 years. 21 years.
Plus.
Justice Herndon and Bill Kephart were the prosecutors on that case. Mm-hmm. Steve submitted this complaint to you, and what you guys wrote back to him was the following. You do not have jurisdiction over somebody who wasn't a judge at the time of the conduct or alleged misconduct. Mm-hmm. So in this case, Justice Herndon is a sitting judge now, but back then he was just a prosecutor. He was not a judge. He doesn't fall under your jurisdiction. Per your own words, you also said this back in 2019. Mm-hmm. So it's actually amazing to me that you guys even have a hearing and that you have suspended Michelle Fiore, because you don't have jurisdiction over Michelle Fiore as a councilwoman back in 2019 and 2020 at the time of this alleged misconduct. You guys said that yourself, but you're sitting here. You have suspended her for 10 months off the bench without pay. And let me remind you, under the law, as far as I know in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. Mm-hmm. So Michelle Fiore was innocent that whole time until that jury convicted her. Mm-hmm. So why did you have jurisdiction over her and her actions from 2019 and 2020, but you don't have jurisdiction over Justice Herndon from way back in the mid-90s? Mm-hmm. So the other thing I think you guys are forgetting, I don't understand the hypocrisy here. You don't have a right, in my opinion, after what you guys have stated, to keep her suspended. You guys have gotten yourself in a huge pickle. And I don't think you have any other choice but to reinstate her and also give her all of her back pay. So you guys need to get your story straight, because what you're putting out, if you guys don't reinstate her, the precedent you are setting is absolutely terrifying. And guess what? You're going to have an onslaught of complaints, because all of a sudden you're going to set this precedence that you now have jurisdiction over people prior to them being a judge. So, and the other thing too that was interesting, they pulled down the hearing.
Yeah.
You guys pulled the hearing.
But I have it. I have the video. I'll put it back.
Well, they pulled it off of their website, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is on the Veterans in Politics YouTube page. So you can still see a recording of that. But what are you guys trying to hide? Why would you pull that down?
And there was another thing about the statute of limitations too. They said that because it happened so long ago that they couldn't go after Justice Herndon. But the statute of limitations, according to the letter that I received, was 2 years. And with Michelle, it was 5. And I'm not saying Michelle is right or wrong, and that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that if you're going to have rules, jurisdictional rules and statute of limitation rules, it should apply to everybody. Equally, no matter who they are. Because what are you saying if somebody does something wrong when they were in civilian life and they become a judge, now all is forgiven? Is that, I don't know if that's what they're saying, but I just don't understand how they're doing it. But either way, it's not equal. It's not fair. And you should be fair. It should be fair, or they should just open up an investigation on Justice Herndon for what he did. And for the life of me, Ms. Phillips, I just don't understand how anybody could respect a man that hid evidence for 21 years, hid evidence and caused somebody to go to prison for 21 years. And while the real killer walks the street and they have zero accountability and they become the highest judicial officer in the state, which is the Chief Justice of our Supreme Court. I have no respect for that. I have no respect for him.
Well, and the other one wants to wants to run for district attorney.
Yeah, William Kephart, who was a Las Vegas Justice of Peace and a district court judge. And he was a friend of mine. But when I found out what he did, that I can't associate with somebody like that, because I'm looking at it like, what happened if that was my son? Or that was
you.
Me, or that was my father, or that was my mother, and a prosecutor know that they're innocent, but instead want a guilty conviction on their record, go ahead and convict them for a crime they didn't do, and their whole life got tossed away and sitting in the maximum security prison for 20. That is disgusting. How could anybody fathom that? They gotta actually act like if it was their kin, their family that went through that, and they spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to prove they're innocent. And that's how I look at it. What happened if that was my kid or me or you?
Right. Everybody can put themselves in that situation, and then all of a sudden it's different when it comes knocking on your door.
Exactly.
So that was terrible, that happened, but also the statute of limitations. In my opinion, there shouldn't be a statute of limitations. If you find out that prosecutors withheld evidence and that evidence would have exonerated Fred Stees, they knew he wasn't even in the state when the murder happened. There should be no statute of limitations on that. Whenever that is found out, whenever that comes forward, you should be able to prosecute these people. It is a crime, hiding evidence, and they should be held accountable. But back to Michelle Fiore, it doesn't matter what your opinion of Michelle is. You can replace Michelle in this scenario with any person, replace her with yourself. And if you are before the discipline commission and they treat one person one way and somebody else another, they have jurisdiction over one but not the other, it's a double standard. It's not fair. And justice is supposed to be blind and equal. and it's not in this case. So I can't wait to see what their decision is, because if they don't release her to go back to being judge and restore her pay,
appeal it to the Supreme Court.
it's not gonna be good. They are not gonna set a good precedence, and that they will be the laughingstock of this state and the most hypocritical body in this state. Okay, I'm done.
You're done?
Yes, sorry.
You got it all off.
Sorry, Judge. We had to.
I'm just sitting here.
So and
we know you have no opinion.
No opinion on anything that was just discussed.
What are rants between me and Ms. Phillips has absolutely zero to do with her guests.
And they don't know what we're going to say. He doesn't even know what I'm going to say, actually. So,
Ms. Schwartz. I'm sorry, Judge Schwartz.
Hi, it's okay.
Could you give us a bio, please?
So I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. So for someone my age, I'm a very rare breed.
22, 23?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Very rare breed. Yeah, I was born here, born in the Women's Center on Sahara and Burnham when women weren't allowed to go and didn't have their own hospital because they are just women. So it was a birthing center.
That's
wow.
bad.
I mean, it was a while ago. But so born and raised here. My parents were from Michigan originally. Well, actually, my father was born in the Czech Republic.
Oh, wow.
At Czechoslovakia at the time. My grandparents actually are Holocaust survivors. So they survived. They found each other. My father came into the picture. They immigrated here in the late 40s. They moved to Michigan. So they moved here from the Midwest. And I've lived here practically my entire life. My only time away was when I went to the University of Arizona, bear down, for my undergrad. But yeah, I graduated from, I went to Orr Junior High right behind the Boulevard Mall. I graduated from Valley High School. And then
You're a Valley girl?
I'm a Valley girl.
Okay.
I'm a Valley girl. Go Vikings. And then after undergrad, I worked for then Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley in her inaugural year.
Love her.
Wonderful. And I honestly didn't know what I want to do. Originally, when I went into undergrad, I wanted to go into nutritional sciences, but I could not pass organic chemistry. So that went out the window.
Why is that?
It's really hard.
Oh, yeah?
Oh my goodness. It is really, really, really hard. And so when I graduated, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Throughout my whole life, I've been told I should be a lawyer because I like to argue. So I was like, that's so lame. So then I went to law school.
Here you are.
Here I am. Now, part of that was when I was working for Shelley. I mean, I thought she was an amazing woman. She's an amazing politician. She's an amazing philanthropist. She's an amazing community leader. And she started as a lawyer. So I thought if there was even going to be a possibility of me being even a fraction of the woman that she is, I might as well go to law school like she did. So when I went to law school, I mean, no one likes law school. Anyone who likes law school, there's something wrong with them. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in law school. So I clerked for then District Court Judge Michael Cherry, which was great because it gave me an exposure to the
Love
courtroom. Oh, he's the greatest. He's the greatest.
Speaks his mind, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does. No,
Same thing
no
with
fear.
Shelley Berkeley, too.
She has a bit more of a filter on her than Cherry does. But yeah, so then I worked in civil for a while. And then, but when I was working for Judge Cherry, there was a murder case. And so it was defended by the Special Public Defender. And at the time, the Special Public Defender's office was led by Phil Cohn. So when I ran into him when I was in civil practice, he had actually asked me, why aren't you working for me? And I said, well, I don't know. And so he and I got to chatting. And so I applied in September of 2004, I joined the Public Defender's Office. And I was there until I was elected to this position at the end of, so I left in December of 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the time you did the truancy. I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Okay, so while that was just a volunteer position while I was in the Public Defender's Office. And so the Clark County School District at the time had a truancy court program. I honestly don't know if they still do. I hope that they do. But it was great. So you volunteer as as a judge of sorts. But you're really dealing with elementary school students who aren't going to school. And it's not their fault. I mean, they're in elementary school. So, you sit down with them once a week, you have meetings with them and you discuss, why aren't you coming to school? What's going on? Let's talk about how school is important. And the students that some of them had active parents. And look, they're not from here. This isn't where they're from originally. And they don't know about the school system and what's required of them. And frankly, I loved meeting with the parents because there were parents that were involved. And once we spoke with them about the importance of school and not only just the legal requirement that students need to be in school, but just the benefit associated with going to school, we had parents that were really involved, really excited, sometimes emotional because they didn't understand what they were precluding their kids from participating in. And it was wonderful. And, the kids loved it. We gave them little gifts or not gifts, but prizes for attendance and things of that nature. And so they were thrilled with it. It was a really rewarding program. I really, really enjoyed doing that while I volunteered with the program.
So you had parents that didn't realize it was important to get their kids to school?
Yeah. I mean, look, their background, maybe school wasn't a big deal to them when they were younger and their parents didn't push them. And, education wasn't an important thing. And parents were thinking, oh, it's just elementary school. I'm tired. I don't want to take them to school. Or, they don't want to go, so I'm just not going to make them. And it was just a lack of understanding of how important school is. And when you speak with them and you explain to them, the various reasons why school is important, of course, not just the legal aspect, because students are required to be in school up until a certain age, but just the development, the education, the social, the everything that goes into going into school. Once they started understanding that, we had parents that legitimately, sometimes they would start crying because they were so upset that they didn't realize that they were holding their children back. They didn't know that was a thing. And I'm not saying that they just didn't understand that was a ramification of not sending their child to school. And they were really excited and involved, and they would come to our meetings once a week, even when they weren't required to be there, but they really liked that someone was taking an interest in their child. And so they started participating. And sadly, it wasn't every single parents, but the parents that did participate, their kids ended up doing really, really well, going to school regularly. And it was really rewarding. I enjoyed it a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a dual calendar or?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm 50% civil, 50% criminal. I don't handle certain cases, but I'm 50%, 50-50.
What does that mean you don't handle certain cases?
So I don't handle homicide cases. We have 4 district court judges that handle homicide. I don't handle business court cases because we have certain judges that handle business court. So if it's a specialty court, I don't handle that. But if it's the general jurisdiction, that's what I handle.
So how does the two differ from civil to criminal?
No,
in your perspective?
Night and day, of course. So look, the bulk of my career was doing criminal defense. So criminal is, I'm not going to say easy. It's never easy. Mm-hmm. But it's something that I understood. And I'm comfortable with it. With civil, there's a lot. And I find myself prepping and studying and researching a lot because I want to get it right. And because it's not an old hat for me. In criminal, there are certain motions that they are presented to me. And I know what the answer is. I know what the ruling should be. Certainly not all cases, but there are some. With civil, everything is new to me. So I'm researching, I'm studying, but I'm also reaching out because we have amazing judges and the district court bench that are there that know this better than I and can advise and assist. And I certainly am not one to shy away from help. I know what I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend that I know certain things. So after my research and after figuring things out, I'll go to other judges and I'll say, hey, this is the issue that's presented to me. This is what I'm thinking of doing. And frankly, I love it when the judges tell me that I'm right. That I'm doing the right thing. But they're very,
everybody
very
likes
different.
to hear that.
I encourage people to tell me how right I am. But
do you have a mentor?
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over cold.
That's okay.
I wouldn't say, no, I don't have a mentor, but I know the judges that I respect a lot. And so I tend to go to those. So I make them my mentor. I don't have anyone that's assigned to me, but I have certain judges that I force to help me.
Who do you use for civil and who do you use for criminal?
For civil, I mean, Judge Williams, I've said in courtrooms saying, look, he may not be mandatory in mandatory law, but in Department 17 he is. But I'll go to Judge Williams. I'll go to Judge Delaney. I'll go to Judge Yeager. I go to Judge Peterson. I go to Judge Clark Newberry. So,
you go through all of them.
I mean, not all of them. Judge Hardy at times, if he's, he handles so many different departments or calendars. It's crazy. But look, I know who knows their stuff.
So, but when you were a public defender,
Yes.
Did you ever feel anybody was guilty?
Sure.
You did?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That didn't bother me, though. The
and-
Constitution doesn't say only innocent people are entitled to defense, to representation.
Do you do a plea or would you go to a full trial if you believe that?
The defendant makes that choice. The defendant has some decisions that are solely lie on them, and that's whether they accept an offer of negotiation, whether they testify at trial. And if I had clients that insisted on going to trial, my job was to be a zealous advocate. My job is not to judge. My job is to provide them the advocacy that the Constitution demands. And I was never going to back away from that, ever.
Have you done a jury trial?
As an attorney or as a judge? Oh yeah, I did many jury trials as an attorney.
And how do you feel like, what goes through your mind when you argue for your client in front of a body of 12? I mean, how do you use your arms?
Yes.
How do you?
Yes, I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to take this off too.
Mason, how do you do it?
Well, once I battled the butterflies. I battled the butterflies every single time I had a jury trial or even an evidentiary hearing. I realized how important it was. And as some people that I had worked with said, like, the time that you're no longer nervous is the time that you no longer care. And I cared. I cared about my job. I cared about my clients. I cared about why I was there. So once the butterflies were at bay, I guess I will say, then I would go in and, I would argue what I need to argue. But I was always very well prepared. I don't like surprises. And I wanted to know, what I was going to argue. But even when I'm cross-examining a police officer or something like that, I would have everything that person was going to be testifying about. I'd have notes about what I'm going to question that person about, page references in case I have to approach and things of that nature. I mean, I was very well prepared. I didn't go into these hearings not knowing what I was going to do. I mean, that my client deserves so much more than that.
Do you feel safe in the courthouse?
I do. I know that there was an incident with my neighbor. She's directly next door to me. Luckily, that's a one-off, but I think that there has been a heightened view of what needs to be done. And the marshal in my department, he's fantastic. And if he's around, I have no fear of anything happening to me. He's wonderful.
Do you have a gun behind the bench?
I do not. I don't have a carry concealed weapon permit, so I wouldn't be able to really carry it unless I'm open carrying. I don't know if you're allowed to open carry, but my marshal does. He's very well trained. There are other marshals. I don't feel the need to arm myself, but and I don't have a carry concealed weapon permit.
Yeah. So as a public defender, I always think if that were me on being a public defender versus a prosecutor and, the difference between those, and you being a public defender for so long, do you find yourself, when you have the defendant in your courtroom, do you find yourself being more, not easier, but more forgiving or give them more latitude because you were on that side for so long?
No. And there was a part of me that was worried that I would be like that. But I think that being an attorney at the public defender's office for as long as I did it, there was a true understanding that every defendant is a human being. There are some judges that I practiced in front of long before, and there are judges on the bench still to an extent that don't think of people who are accused of crimes or who have pled to crimes or whatever are human beings. They are human beings, and there's humanity in everywhere, in every part of my courtroom. And I think that comes from me being an attorney at the public defender's office, because yes, I represented people that did things that were horrible, and I represented individuals that did need to go to prison for one reason or another, but they were still humans, and I still got to know them, their story, to find out where they came from. Maybe a lot of them came from broken homes. They were exposed to drugs at an excessively early age. There's a lot to a story that creates a person, and it's not just the crime that they committed.
Through all of those years, did you ever find out later that the prosecutor had withheld evidence in any particular case that would have exonerated your client?
No, not that. I do remember a case where the Metro officer withheld information, and I found that out. Excuse me, sorry. Luckily, I found out before the case went to trial. That was upsetting for sure.
What happened to him? Any repercussions?
Woman. She was
Zero accountability.
Yeah, nothing happened with her.
That's why people normalize stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But look, I mean, my husband is a retired Metro officer. So, I mean, I have the background with him, because he and I have been together for so long. I have the background with him, and that I know officers are people. Mm-hmm. There are some bad ones. There's no question about it. But, with my husband, and I talked to him and I spoke with him and probably lost my mind on him when I found out what happened. But
he's your sounding board.
He's my sounding board, punching board, all that kind of stuff, or punching bag rather. But I mean, look, it was upsetting. It was bothersome. I brought it to the state's attention. The case negotiated. My client was released. So it ultimately worked out.
So what inspired you to become a judge?
Wow. I mean, I never wanted to be a judge. I never aspired to be a judge. There was never a part of me. But part of it was, and not in a braggy kind of way, but I certainly had people that would ask me, when are you going to become a judge? When are you going to become a judge? And I'd always say, why would I do that? I have a job that I love. I love my job. I love that my job is written in the United States Constitution. There's nothing more exciting than knowing that your job is secured by the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Nevada. I worked with brilliant attorneys, and even with prosecutors. There were prosecutors that I admired and respected so very, very much. I really enjoyed my job, but then it got to a point where, look, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I mean, there were times I would walk into the courtroom and I would present an argument, and the judges would say, well, you know what, Ms. Schwartz, I agree with you. I think you're right, but I'm ruling against you. It wears on you after a while.
They agree with you. Why are they ruling against you?
That would be my question. I mean, like I said, there were judges that didn't view my clients as human beings. They were icky people that were criminals. And that's not what the judiciary should be about. I mean, we talk about Lady Justice. Justice is blind. But when it's not, and the frustration starts to boil over, that was the impetus for me deciding to run for judge.
What do you think your path was to become a judge?
I don't understand your question. I'm sorry.
Was it something in your mind that says, hey, at an early age, I want to be a judge. I want to be able to help people in different aspects. And one of the ways I could do it is to do it from the bench.
Well, look, I never wanted to be a judge, so that wasn't my path. And in addition to being an attorney at the public defender's office, I've been doing community service since I was in high school. I've done things to work with people, to help people, to boost them, bolster them, do whatever I need to do. So I was doing that as an attorney and just as a citizen of this fine city of ours. So there wasn't an issue of that. I think really what it was is being sick and tired of being sick and tired and constantly complaining about the judges that aren't following the law because, they don't want to rule in favor of someone who's icky. But also, there was a part of it where Judge Villani had retired from Department 17. And like I said, I had clerks for Judge Cherry when he was a district court judge in Department 17. So when the position became open, I figured, hey, if I'm going to be a judge, if I'm going to start, doing, or if I'm going to try to do or try to prevent what I've been so upset about for so long, I might as well try to do it in Department 17. I started my career there. Why not finish it there?
So you've been on the bench since 2023.
Correct.
So by the time you've been on the bench until now, does your mindset change? Do you look at things differently in the courtroom?
Oh yeah.
Explain.
So look, I think one of it was the first time I had a victim speaker. And look, there's never a time where I didn't understand that there were victims associated with the cases that I was, dealing with. Absolutely. I cross-examined victims. I'd spoken with them in the hallway. So I knew there were always a victim. That was never a mystery. But it was the whole having a victim come and talk to me about their trauma, about what had happened to them, and asking me to help them in a different way than I'd ever had before. And so, to answer your question is, do I think differently? Yes, I'm now neutral. And look, as a public defender, as an attorney at the public defender's office, I wasn't pro-anarchy. It's not like I was, anti-rule of law or anything like that. So, it wasn't that I wanted all of my clients to be released immediately. That's not what it was. But now I'm neutral, and I legitimately have a community safety aspect to deal with. But also understanding the growth that comes with people if you don't just give them the harshest penalty, but rather make them work for it, make them continue to work for their liberties, then they sometimes have more respect for the community, for where they are, for who they are, for victims. So my perspective has significantly changed than when I was an advocate, because now I'm no longer an advocate.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
So Mondays and Wednesdays, I have my criminal calendars. They start at 9:00.
Do you work 40 plus hours a week?
There are definitely weeks that I work way more than 40 hours.
Are you there on Fridays?
No, honestly,
we didn't see your car there. I'm just kidding.
That's not true.
I'm just kidding.
She Ubered that day.
Yeah, she parked around the corner.
I will say one of the surprising things that I discovered is how much work goes into this. And again, look, I know that there were judges when I was practicing that were gone within 2 hours of arriving. But I never aspired to be anyone like that. I want to understand what's happening. I want to know the law. I want to do the right thing. And the amount of work that goes into it is just
staggering.
It is staggering. I remember at one point, it was during the winter month, so it was just pitch black by the time we left. And there were 5 of us that were all leaving at the same time. And we were laughing because we were all former public defenders and we were the last ones in the parking lot.
Prosecutors already gone.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying that. But we're all laughing, saying, look at all of us. We're here really late. It felt later than it was because it was the winter months, but it was just pitch black. Mm-hmm. And there we were. We were the last 5 cars in the parking lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. If you want to do the right thing and and be good at your job.
Do you review most of the files in chambers, or do you take it home and do a lot of that at home? Or
I mostly do it in chambers, but now that it's all electronic, I can do it from home as well. And every weekend, I'm looking at my stuff. I want to make sure that, look, I've prepared let's say my Monday calendar, and it's been prepared on Friday. But on the weekends, I go in, I make sure that nothing was filed that I missed before. I'll re-review certain reports or motions or things of that nature because I want to be well prepared. I don't want to be that judge that shows up and says, all right, what's going on? What are we doing here today? I want to know what we're there for. I want to have that firm grasp on it before I make any kind of decisions or rulings. And same with civil. I prepare them before, but I will, on the weekends, I'll re-review motions. I'll reread the law on these issues. I mean, I'll go through it a couple of times. So luckily, because it's all digital, I can do it from home as well.
You talked about impartiality earlier. How do you ensure impartiality when you're hearing cases?
Well, I make sure that I don't. Well, I guess I'm going to ask you again. I don't understand how do I ensure impartiality? I mean, I make sure that, let's say, it's not a case that I handled when I was an attorney, for sure. I make sure if it's a criminal case, I make sure it's not a case that my husband was ever involved with, since he was with Metro for so long. But
do you have a recusal list?
Just me. Just me. So just me. But part of that is because I don't. If there is an issue with the case, then I will own up to it immediately. But if I put, let's say one of my really close friends on there, then any case that person has ever touched, even if I wasn't a judge at the time, they automatically get reassigned. And I don't want to do that to any of my fellow judges. If it's not a case that's in front of me, there's no reason to try to burden or saddle them with anything. But if there's an issue, if I think that I will have a problem, I own up to it immediately. If I see that there could be an issue, but it's not going to affect me, I'll let the parties know and I'll let them decide. If they think there's an issue, then they can ask me to get off of the case. But I don't look at cases based on who's representing. I look at the case itself. So, I mean, I think that's where my impartiality comes from. It's not an issue of who's arguing, who's litigating, who's advocating. It's the case.
How about if a large law firm donated to your campaign? Is that what you were going to say?
I was going to say, do you look at your donors list to make sure that that person wasn't on your donor list? Because you may not see all of the people that donated to you. You may not know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, if you look at my list from when I ran, I didn't have a lot of high donors, so that's not much of an issue. But I mean, it's the reality of it. Lawyers are going to donate to judicial candidacies. They're going to donate to their, their races. But I don't know. I mean, if they gave me again, I didn't really have that when I was running. But if it's someone that did donate, they're not buying my ruling. There's never some kind of backdoor agreement. They know they gave me money because they knew that I was going to be on the bench and I was going to be fair and I was going to do the work and I was going to do the research and I was going to rule the way that it needs to be ruled. And again, it has nothing to do with the proponent of the motion or anything like that. It has to do with the case itself. So I don't think anyone gave me money for a ruling because that's not how it works, at least in Department 17.
How do you handle emotionally charged cases?
So I realize I make a point of not getting overly emotional because it's not about me. It's about them. Mm-hmm. And if I start getting emotional, then I turn it into something about me and we're not there for me. Mm-hmm. No one is there for me. I'm there for other people. I'm there for everyone else. So I try to, look at it in a vacuum. But look, as an attorney at the public defender's office, I dealt with emotional cases all of the time. And I had to learn how to create that barrier so it didn't affect me. And I have that wall that's still built in me and I can back myself off because again, it's not about me. It's not the case. I'm not about the case. I'm there to make a ruling. And so I let the parties I let them express their emotions, their appropriate emotions, and I allow them the opportunity to emote the way that they need to, but I don't because it's not about me.
How do you balance the letter of the law versus judicial discretion?
Discretion comes from the law. So, it's not an issue of how do I balance it or navigate it. That is part of the law. I'm an intelligent human being and I know how to evaluate certain things. So I think that when I'm exercising my discretion, I'm doing it in accordance with the law.
Because I have legal minds. They'll read a law and then they'll interpret it this way, and then somebody reads that exact same law, and they'll interpret it this way.
Well, I mean, as we learn in law school and as we practice, the legal answer is always, it depends. So, I mean, the law is gray. It's not black and white. But I think that when I am exercising my discretion, I'm doing it in accordance with the law and what's right.
What do you think is the biggest misunderstanding with the public when dealing with judges or the legal system?
I think, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, Steve.
You could do it. I have faith in you.
Thank you.
In fact, I asked around about you already.
Oh.
Different attorneys.
And I'm sure you only heard wonderful things.
Oh, she's just the greatest.
That's right. That's right. That's very accurate too.
Please continue.
I mean, look, we are humans and we're going to make mistakes. And look, that's why we have a higher courts. We have the Court of Appeals. We have the Supreme Court. We are going to make decisions. And that is kind of a tough thing because when cases are ultimately appealed, it becomes difficult because we're making decisions on the spot. Sometimes we have to make them right then and there. And it's not really a shoot from the hip kind of thing. I mean, you have to try to balance and evaluate, but we don't know everything. I mean, I know that the people think that.
Some judges would disagree with you.
Some judges would disagree, but again, that's one of the reasons why I ran. We
Get rid of the know-it-alls, or at least one of them.
We don't know.
We know you don't have an opinion.
No, not at all. We don't know everything, and we're going to make mistakes, but it's not done in a malicious way, at least not with me. When I make mistakes, it's not because I'm a judge trying to get something done. I'm not an activist judge. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And sometimes I make a legal error, again, not because out of malice or anything like that. But look, we are human. We do have emotions. And sometimes we have to walk away so that we don't get too emotional, whether it's an anger emotion or some other kind of emotion. But we are people. We are humans.
How do you keep politics out of the courtroom? We see so much across the country. These activist judges, they're politically biased. You can clearly see it. How do you navigate that?
I'm not an activist judge. I try to do what the law says. And look, if the law is up to interpretation, because in this fine state of ours, there are a lot of issues that aren't, they have not been litigated yet. I will say that haven't been litigated. So we don't have Supreme Court opinions on it. We don't have Court of Appeal opinions, but I just try to look at the case law that has already been established, and I try to make the next logical step if it hasn't been done. But it's not an advocacy aspect. I'm trying to do what's right. I'm trying to do what's legally proper.
When is the death penalty appropriate?
I do not have.
You don't have an opinion?
I mean, I don't have one that I'm feeling comfortable in expressing. I don't know. That's not my job to make. I'm not here to make a decision on that one way or the other.
I got an easier one for you.
Oh, thank you.
Have you ever been appealed or overruled or
as a
reversed?
Judge or as a lawyer?
As a judge.
Reversed. I have. I can think of two that I have. One of them was there was a preliminary hearing that had been continued a number of times, and I didn't think that the bases for the continuances were legally proper. But the Supreme Court said, look, this is something you have to evaluate. And when I received that opinion, I said, all right, I was wrong. And I remanded it back to Justice Court, and the case, went its way.
What advice would you give law students?
Always be open-minded. Know that this is a tough job, whether you're in criminal or you're civil, whether you're in the courtroom or you're corporate. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of removal from your families, but it's a great job. It's a great job.
And you're running for re-election.
I am going to run for re-election, yes.
Okay. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Would you ever want to run for Supreme Court?
I just want to do a really good job as a district court judge. I'm focused on just being
That's
a district
such a
court judge.
great politician answer. That was really good.
I just want to do a really good job in where I am.
Her answer is yes, but the time
Yes, but
is
not right now.
That is not my answer. My answer is I want to be a district court judge, and I want to be a really good district court judge.
We'll follow up in 2 years.
Judge Schwartz.
Yes, sir.
Is there something that we haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on? Or?
I have an amazing family.
Okay.
I have an amazing family.
How many kids you got?
I have one.
Okay.
I have one. He's a wonderful kid. He plays baseball. He's just maybe not grade wise, but he's a superb child. I love him so very much.
How old is he?
He's 15. Oh, he's going to be driving soon, and that does scare me.
I got one driving right now.
Oh, it's scary on every level. But he is great. He's very supportive of me. I have an amazing husband who is very supportive of me. He's retired now and living his best life. So now we fight all the time because when
He's home and you're not.
when I get the text of, hey, don't call me, I'm taking first nap.
First
Oh,
nap.
my gosh.
But I do. I have a great family. I love them so very, very much. They support me. I support them.
Okay.
They're wonderful.
Ms. Phillips, do you have anything else for Judge Schwartz?
Not right now.
Well, Judge Schwartz, we want to thank you for taking your time to come and talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
And I like I said, I did my homework on you, and I think that you're doing a very, very good job.
Thank
behind
you.
the bench.
Thank you.
And I don't say that to a lot of people.
No, I know you, Steve. I know. You're not a sugarcoater.
No, I don't know how to sugarcoat. I missed that class.
You
She's
know-
always getting on me for that.
There's not enough time to sugarcoat. Our time on this planet is finite. Let's just get to the point.
Yes. So, Ms. Schwartz, Mark's going to zoom in on you, and you could say whatever. You could talk about your upcoming campaign. You could talk about whatever. And if you have a point of contact, you could give one. You don't have to, but it's totally up to you.
Well, again, my name is Jennifer Schwartz, and I'm in Department 17. I will be seeking re-election in 2026. Currently I'm located in courtroom 3E. I have calendar Mondays and Wednesdays for my criminals, and everyone is welcome. It's an open courtroom. My civil, you're welcome to come to that too, but it's not nearly as much fun and exciting at times. But absolutely, come by, feel free. It's not closed to anyone. It's welcome to all, and I hope to see everyone there. I certainly can't answer any questions about cases, but I'm still here to talk about non-cases. But I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the job. I think I'm doing a good job, and I want to continue to do what I'm doing and hope to keep on keeping on.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips.
Thank
Folks, that's Jennifer Schwartz, Clark County District Court Judge, Department 17. And we know that in 2026, it's going to be a crowded field. Actually, there are 68 judicial seats here in Southern Nevada that's going to be on the ballot. And we're trying to help you guys decide and be educated when you go to the voting booth. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips, with Veterans in Politics. Until next time, and we have another show coming up.